golfing, guys? That's what I really want to know.
When are we golfing? I honestly thought we had a set date to golf.
Dan is a guy.
I'm always ready to golf. I just need the fun scent.
We're waiting for your appointment setting, buddy.
You got it. I will have a tee time set soon.
All right. With that said, we are live. Are we live? We're going to start episode 12, Dad's House, with special guest.
Another dad.
Dad.
Dan.
Man, why don't you give us a short version, a little intro of who you are, what you do, and what you're contributing today.
My name is Dan Tran. I'm with Fidelity National Title. I've been in the business for about 19 years now, and I'm going to add undeniable service and some value in this show today.
Ooh, I like it.
Wow, that's a high bar to set.
We brought Dan today because Dan, a lot of people don't know this, but he is 45 years old and older. But what most people don't know, he's raising a baby right now, an infant. So I want to know the ins and outs of life after 45, raising a baby.
Yeah, that's a tough call, man.
Definitely.
As a man. And I want to talk about really why are rates, you said they're over 7%?
As of today, we're on the national average, we're over 7%. Yeah.
Wow.
As of yesterday, actually.
Wow. So what's happening with that? What's happening with affordability? And there was something else you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, no, my contribution today is going to be affordability, how to get it done in this age. And importantly, we need to acknowledge the situation that today's buyer is in and how they can work the system.
Yeah, I need to know because my clients want to know. But before that, let's attack the elephant in the room.
Oh,
Dan Tran.
Hey, what's up, elephant?
What's happening with, let's jump into the rates, man. What's happening with rates?
Yeah.
I did not realize that we crossed the 7% mark.
We did. For a little bit there, it was like a death by 1,000 cuts. It was like there was not much going on in the news, and rates were just kind of steadily pumping up, only a little bit at a time. It wasn't like you were getting very much movement at all day to day. And so it kind of snuck up on you. You got into the high sixes, and then as of the last couple of days, what has happened is these debt ceiling talks have made it worse for sure, but that's kind of a temporary impact. Today, what has happened is the Fed minutes came out, and language was seen in there that was very aggressive.
Was it a little bit flip-flopping in that language where we're going to raise it or we're not going to raise it? Because I read both.
One member in particular said straight up, until we see rates are inflation moving down to the target of 2%, until we see that, we need to stay aggressive and continue to raise interest rates. That's not exactly what he said, but it's a summary of what he said. And the market did not react well to that at all.
So Dan Tran, you as a title rep, how do higher rates affect your business? What do you see? How do you feel it?
I see that, a lot of the refi business is gone, but, Ernesto and I were having a conversation before. I mean, things have to go up in order for it to go back down. So, with this trend going up, we're not going to see a lot of refis, but people are still going to buy no matter what.
Yeah.
And because of that, when the rates do go down, people will have to refinance, and that'll be more refis.
So you're saying that there might be a refi boom
down the road, definitely down the road. Yeah, I'm calling it now. Refi boom down the road.
Down the road. Down the eternal road.
Okay, like Nostradamus himself. Okay, so with that said, Dan, would you buy a property today with 7%, 7.25% rate?
I'm only going to speak on my behalf. Sure. Definitely, I would. If the price is right, I have no problem with buying interest rates at 7%, 10%, 12%. Because what I've always believed in is I can adjust the rate, I can't adjust the principal. And that's the way, I would attack.
When you say principal, not everybody understands the loan balance.
Correct, the loan balance.
Okay. Right. Now, affordability factor.
Yeah.
What does that say with 7% rates? It's got to be affecting the buyer pool. It's got to be affecting the consumer, right?
Yeah. So it used to take, on average, like a newly married couple, for example, about 2.5 years to save for a good down payment on a home.
Okay.
Right. Today's number is closer to 6 years before they can save for a down payment on a home, and that's an effect of just inflation going up on them and everything else. And again, big factor is wages. Wages themselves have not seen a major increase at all. 1970 to now, they've gone up a total. Again, compensating for inflation, they've only gone up about 15%. Home prices have gone up 118%. Again, adjusting for inflation. So the income for the average person out there, average couple, average whatever team buying a house, has just not kept up with home values. So affordability has gone down. That's just a reality of what the economy has pushed us to.
Is there a silver lining anywhere here? Because the data that you shared. Okay. Income went up 15%.
Yes.
With adjusted inflation, and property went up over 120% almost.
118%. Yes.
So that's what, 10x?
Yeah. Yeah. So bottom line is you're seeing homes that are way outpricing the pace at which people are getting better wages, right? So is there a silver lining? I think there's some wisdom in what Dan was just saying about buying regardless, not regardless of the interest rate. The interest rate is always a factor, of course, but the wisdom in what he was saying is opportunities exist in all times, So if you're telling me I have to pay 10%, but I'm going to get a great deal on a home,
right?
Then what does that mean in terms of numbers? And maybe it's time to pull the trigger. Plenty of people were still pulling the trigger back in 1981, and when I think rates were 18+%.
Right. Well, I'll share something behind the scenes, Dan.
Another silver lining is I won't have to compete against 10, 20 other offers.
That's exactly where I was going. This weekend, I have a client absolutely loved a property in San Bernardino. This particular property came on the market, let's say last Thursday, no showings until Saturday. My client is going to Las Vegas. He needs to see it. He wanted to see it Thursday or Friday.
Yes.
Not possible. Had to change and rearrange his whole trip. He was there the minute the open house opened on Saturday morning. Saw it, called me, Jose, write up the offer. I'm ready. House is listed for $450. Typical house, San Bernardino. I mean, traditional price out there. How many offers do you think that particular home received? Traditional 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,500 square foot home, San Bernardino. And this weekend,
it might as well be solid gold.
What do you think? Give me a number.
9.
What do you think?
15.
25 offers. I got an email from the listing agent. Hey, Jose, just updating me. Thank you for the offer. As of today, we have 25 offers. We plan to present them tomorrow morning. She basically gave me a 12-hour window to update my client. Okay, so that was yesterday. Haven't heard back from my offer, but we submitted an offer, substantially higher than the list price, and right now I'm just begging and hoping to get a counter.
Let me ask a different question.
Yeah,
because we say terms like there's opportunity in every market, right?
Sure.
I said something like similar to that, but I'm sitting here saying to myself, well, I can identify what represents an opportunity potentially, and maybe the average person can say, I'm buying it for cheaper. But Jose, Dan, as investors, as both of you guys are real estate investors,
yeah,
what constitutes an opportunity buy for you?
I'll let Dan take that. What do you think, Dan?
Honestly, for me, if it makes sense, I will definitely jump at it, especially right now because the competition isn't out there looking for these kind of deals, And with that, I mean, I'll hold, and then like I've said, the rates will go down, and definitely refi and pull some money out and move that to the next investment.
Can I ask you, in a state like California, because you're speaking from a purely investment standpoint, sticking with that, in a state like California where we have equity growth that far outpaces other parts of the country, will you take, for example, an investment purchase and be upside down on profit for a while for the sake of gaining that equity in a property?
Honestly, I would, just because of the tax break. You can leverage that too. If you have more than 1 or 2 rental properties, I would say yes in my situation, because I could leverage that for my tax purposes on other rentals that are making money, and offset that.
Yeah. So for me, a couple of things that I look at, being a good real estate agent and being having access to the data that I just shared, 25 offers on this particular area in San Bernardino, that makes me as a investor that's always looking for an opportunity. The first thing I did Monday morning, right? I logged into my MLS and I'm scouring the for sale by owner, scouring the stuff that's listed in that city to see if there's any deals to be had. I found 1 or 2 that I identified. Made the calls, they're not buyable right now, but yeah, for sure. So
the opportunities are out there.
They're there if you're looking, working, and you have the numbers and data, like the stuff that you're sharing right now.
Interesting.
I have that data because I have a client made an offer, hope to get a counter, hope to get an acceptance. But if we don't, at least I have that information. Like, okay, clearly there's 24 other families looking in that neighborhood in that 450, 480 price point. Now, can I find a property that meets that criteria? That's my job, to identify and lock up.
And then, we talked about, I think in the last podcast, we had talked about strategies for making offers and how to maximize the opportunity to get your offer accepted.
Sure.
Can we switch over now to the average buyer? The average buyer is going to be first-time home buyer or somebody who's looking at property that they're going to live in.
Yeah.
How do they find opportunity in a market like this?
Yeah. I mean, I think it just comes down to a couple things. Hiring a seasoned agent that's out there in the trenches. You know, I mean, like Dan, how long have you been in the business here?
19 years.
So after 19 years, he knows the good agents. Would you say it's fair that there's the good, the bad, and the ugly as far as the type of agents out there, the way they run their businesses and the way they treat their clients?
Absolutely.
Right. So I agree. So finding and identifying an agent that's an expert in helping buyers in the community that you're looking for, maybe the program that you're looking for. Not every agent is an expert on a zero down loan.
Right.
Just like not every loan officer is an expert on a zero down type of loan, right? Financing wise. So for me, that's the piece of advice. Get an agent that has access to listings before they hit the market. Maybe they have a vast, huge network where they know investors that, you know, I'm fixing this house. This is going to hit the market pretty soon. I make those calls. I know 3 investors in the IE that I personally reached out. Hey, I have a family. They're looking for this particular price point and this square footage. Do you have anything?
Right.
There's one investor that says, I'm fixing it. I'm working it. In about 2 months, it should be ready. So I said, can I make you an offer today before you fix it?
Hey, can we? Is it still true that the great majority of realtors are onesie twosie realtors that are going to close, you know, 1 or 2, 3, 4 transactions a year? Is that still a true statement? Do you know?
Dan,
Yes.
Estimate, you know the average number of closings per agent? The average closings agent across the U.S.
I do not know that.
It's actually 4.
4 closings a year.
4 closings, yeah.
Okay.
But then again, you have to dissect that data. You have like that rock star agent, you know, that sells 150 houses a year by himself. And then you have the agent that sold 0. So the average,
Yeah.
you throw them out of the pot.
The reason I bring that up is because I think sometimes the service that an agent provides is undervalued by the buyer. And I hate to say this because, even within my family, there are realtors, but who you select as a realtor right now is so very important.
Yeah.
Because if you're dealing with a onesie twosie type of person, they may be your cousin, they may be your brother, they may be your mom.
Sure.
Right? And that trust factor is there, but that trust factor, believe me when I tell you, the trust factor is not enough to get you the deal, to get you to open escrow, number one, in a market like this, to get you a deal on a potential property, and to know how to navigate a very, very busy, active market the one we live in right now.
Yeah, no, and the difference is the difference, right? So hiring the right agent that's going to be able to walk you through the negotiation process. Like one of my favorite parts of a transaction when I'm representing a buyer is the home inspection period. Why do you think that is then?
Probably because how the agent is going to request all of the repairs and how they can request it.
Yeah, so that's one of the things. So I look for opportunities there, right? Is the seller very motivated? Do they need to sell? Do they need to close right away? You know, if the house needs work, that's my one and only time, that contingency period, where I'm able to negotiate, grind down, whether it's a price, a credit, or repairs, right? You know, and we do everything right. We provide reports, we provide plumbing reports and termite reports and roof reports, whatever we need to be able to hopefully get the best deal for our client. In this case, maybe the buyer. Right now, when the foot's on the other, when the shoe's on the other foot on the listing side, then it's a different ballgame, right? My job is to disclose, present, and wait for the buyers to do their due diligence, send the reports, and then negotiate at that point. But again, it all comes down to the amount of leverage that you as an agent are able to get or create through conversation, through talking and negotiating with the other side.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And honestly, what Ernesto said, I mean, can you elaborate? I mean, if you're on the listing side, you do your research on the buyer's agent. If they're presenting an offer, they've only closed one deal this past year.
Yeah.
You take that into account when you're reviewing offers, correct?
I take everything into account: the presentation, the offer, the dates of escrow. Like every offer is important. Like I don't discredit or discard anything. So I'll review everything. I present it. It's not my property. It's the seller's property, and it's their job to look, review, and if they ask for my opinion, I'll give it. But it's my job to be prepared and ready with the data and information, the type of loan, the type of lender, the down payment, the days of escrow. Is it proof of funds that's source? Is it proof of funds that's coming from a relative? Like all this matters, right? Credit scores, you know. So And then at that point, before we even open escrow, my job as a listing agent is to get that cross-qualified with my preferred lender. So I get the green light from my guy. Hey, this is a legit deal.
Can I ask you something now you bring up lenders, from a lending perspective, does it matter that you have a very clean pre-approval, everything set up nice and orderly? Have you gotten, a pre-approval that comes in many pieces versus one that's done very professionally? And then does it matter that a lender reaches out to you and tells you what the great qualities of their buyers are? Does that matter to a listing agent?
Dan, what is that saying? The devil's in the what?
The devil's in the details.
So yes, Ernesto, everything does matter. Everything, I consider and look at everything. Now, is there cases where the agent is busy, that maybe he's traveling and he piece emails me the loan approval and then the offer and then the proof of funds? Unfortunately, I've had to do stuff like this in the past.
Sure.
Right? But I'm communicating with the other side. Hey, Ernesto. Hey, Dan, I apologize upfront. I'm traveling, but I want to get this over to you. It's going to be in 2 or 3 emails. I usually don't do this, but you're going to get it. And again, it's about setting the expectation and following up. So yes, does the details and presentation of it matter? Of course it does. But ultimately it comes down to the client and the lender, the program, and how quickly, contingency period. I mean, we look at every single piece of item on that offer.
You can always tell from a lending side, you can always tell how busy the market is, how heated up the market is, by the communication that me as a lender gets from a listing agent. When the market's not so crazy, listing agent number 1 picks up. Number 2 is maybe even calling me before I even have a chance to call them to find out about the ins and outs of my buyers. In a heated market like we're in right now, I'm probably calling all of my listing agents, or all potential listing agents, right, where we're making offers, and maybe half of them are picking up. Maybe half of them care that I even have anything to say.
And then we have title reps that don't even show up anymore. So
Well, yeah, I mean, to add to that too, reputation is a huge factor, because if you as a lender have closed 2 or 3 deals with this particular listing agent, if you're submitting an offer, and they see that you're doing the loan, they're more apt to pushing your offer through, because they know that you can handle the loan, that you're gonna make it a smooth closing. So that's a great factor too when looking for a lender, their reputation and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, and to piggyback on that, another tactic that good realtors use, and I just had one do this. I have a group of realtors that I work with that have a listing that a buyer that I do not represent as a lender, but he's coming from a buyer's agent that I've done a lot of business with in the past.
Okay.
So this buyer's agent asked me to say, hey, can you put in a good word for me with this listing group? And of course I did that. Of course. Why did I do that? Number 1, this particular agent happens to be an outstanding agent. There's not a thing that I would not hesitate to recommend this particular person. And I followed through with that recommendation. Did she get the offer or not? I don't know, because I just did that yesterday. Yeah. But a pro tip out there is, a lot of times this real estate community, lending community, is very small. That kind of thing can go a long way.
It's not who you know. No, it's not what you know.
Yeah, it's who you know.
It's who you know. So I've used that tactic a lot. Matter of fact, right now, me and Dan are on a private group chat with a bunch of guys. In the last 5 months, 2 of the guys in there are agents. They bought property from me. They bought listings that directly, and basically that deal was made on that chat, right? And unfortunately, these guys, all we do is talk crap in there, right? So when they send me a request of repairs, I'm putting it on blast, right? When they're asking for the smoke detector and the thing to be up, I'm saying that I'm gonna raise the price $1,000. Anyways, yes.
Lender asked for 6 smoke detectors. Who needs 6 in a house?
On 1,000 square foot.
Oh, 1,000 square foot.
That was anyway. So yes, relationships, conversations really do matter, and that's the difference. When you hire the right agent, they're gonna go above and beyond stuff that you're not gonna see, and they're gonna make those extra calls, which whatever it takes to get a deal.
And again, just to hammer the point home, I know there's a high trust factor with a family member potentially. But if that family member is not as connected to the active market, the active, busy realtors
in the trenches
daily, you're just not going to have the chance, as trustworthy as they may be, you're not going to have the chance to have that kind of opportunity that you guys just identified right now.
All right, so let's get into, I'm just going to, this discussion about buyers and sellers got me thinking about being 45. Is that how old you are, Dan?
Ish.
45-ish.
So it could be 25, it could be 60.
No, what that means is 45 to 50. So we can actually insert there in the caption, 45 to 50. No. And you're raising a newborn, like a baby.
She is currently 3.
But you had her since she was a...
She came home when she was 2 days old.
She was... Okay.
Born on Wednesday, home with us on Friday.
So does she call you Papa Dan or Daddy Dan?
She calls me Daddy, Papa.
What's the biggest difference? Because, okay, that's a baby, and then you have...
a 16, a 14.
16, okay. So the older one, the 16, what's the biggest difference that you're seeing between Dan 16 years ago and Dan being a dad now with a newborn?
With the 16-year-old, every time she made a peep, any kind of sound, I would freak out, jump from the bed, and check on her.
I can relate to that. I know what you mean.
Today,
Hospital.
Today,
Emergency.
Yeah, today, Penny could be on the table holding a knife, and I'd look and I could think, oh, it's not that high, and
It's a butter knife.
it's a butter knife. She's cool. As before, I would freak out so much.
So now does this happen because this new mindset of yours? Does it happen because of age or wisdom or experience?
Definitely experience. Definitely experience.
So you know that nothing's gonna happen.
Definitely, as long as you're, I don't have that.
By the way, hopefully social services doesn't get called missing a story of a night.
He made it up, guys. He made it up.
Honestly, I think it was the lack of knowledge, not the inexperience with the 16-year-old, not knowing, never being a parent before, as opposed to today.
How frail are they? Yeah,
They're, honestly, very.
they can be, but kids are made to fall too. Like when they start rolling,
they bump, they push, and so.
And there's, to a certain extent, it's healthy to let them feed.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So to me, I find, 3 years ago when you brought Penny home, I'm like, oh, wow.
No, I was surprised.
I was like, well, I'm like, man, I'm glad it ain't me because I love that little girl. She's beautiful, and she grew up to be a model, probably, right? Before she becomes a lawyer.
I hope so.
President, even better, right? But I see the light at the end of my tunnel.
Exactly.
My oldest is going to be 15 in about a month. She'll be 50. That's my baby, right? The other ones are 20 plus, going to be 21. So I've calculated in my mind, maybe I have a solid 3 plus 8, maybe, another decade. And all the kids are in my house.
Yeah. I
look forward to that.
I completely relate to that. Emily is 14. I was just like 4 more years, and now it's like there's a lot more time. My goal was always to make sure each girl was, college was paid for and mortgage-free home when they were done. Now it's like I don't need to have 2, I have to have 3, and the schooling starts over again and things like that. But honestly, what's different for me now, and I don't know if it was an epiphany or whatnot, it's with Penny, I see my life spending more time, and more active in her life than I was with the other 2 girls. Because today
you learned.
Yeah, today my mentality is I can always make more money. I can't make more time.
Absolutely.
And
powerful.
And it wasn't like I wasn't present in their lives, the 16 and 14-year-old, but at their school recitals or performances, I was there, but honestly, I can admit that I wasn't there.
You were on the phone, you were dealing with...
I'd run outside to answer a phone call, things like that. Now, I during the weekday, I take off at 3 o'clock and do Daddy and me soccer with Penny, and I had one of the kids even ask me, you never did that with me. I was like, but I was busy building something.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that. So I was going to ask, because I'm a middle child. I have the black sheep syndrome in my family.
Here comes the
and you made the baby. You made Emily, 14-year-old?
Yes.
You made Emily, the 14-year-old, which used to be the baby of the family.
Middle child.
For 14 years, she was the baby.
She doesn't acknowledge that, though, because when I come home and I say, where's Daddy's baby? Out of her room, she's yelling, right here.
I'm here, Dad.
She's all right here. I was like, I'm not talking to her.
And that's what I mean. Black sheep Emily. Sorry, babe. I feel you.
Hey, let me ask something else, though. You're 45-ish, right? I'm not a spring chicken. You're not the energy that you had when you had your babies at 30 or 28.
Definitely, yeah.
So what's that like? Are you, when you go to bed, are you like...
It was when she was the newborn stage, where the wake up and the burping and the changing, it was exhausting. Honestly, I there were days when I was dragging, and recently I've been doing 90 hard. It's exactly like 75, but 15 more days. So I could just one up the people that have done 75 hard. But honestly, with exercise and diet, the energy's there. So with having a newborn at a older age, as long as you take care of your health,
Right.
It honestly, I don't see that.
So you're not lacking for energy.
Yeah, I'm not phased right now.
That's good. Excellent, man. I was concerned for, I'm not gonna lie. When I brought that baby home, I was like, that is one of the coolest things I've ever seen anybody do by far. At the same time, I was concerned for your energy level and how do you start. My wife and I, when we knew we were gonna have 2 kids, those 2 kids are approaching 17 and 18. One's headed off to college in a couple of months, and we knew when the second one came.
Yeah, same with this. Our plan was to go back to back. I mean, they're 22 months apart, and we did that so that they can grow up together, and we'd be done at the same. They'd be, up and out.
Yeah.
Penny was a complete curveball. It's like a split finger curveball.
You want to tell that story?
Absolutely. Originally, we were going to foster. Penny is actually Grace's third cousin, so we were going to foster and hope that Penny's biological mom was going to get back on her feet. Unfortunately, she's still working on improving herself, and Penny keeps growing, and you can't just put a child on hold.
Right.
So the state offered to adopt, or they take her back and put her in the system and adopt, and we said we'll adopt, and we're to the process of just finalizing one paper, a signature, a stamp, and the judge gives you a teddy bear, and you all take pictures at the courthouse. So she only knows mom and dad and sisters, and and her life is, she lives a very blessed life, and honestly, I'm blessed and fortunate every day that we're able to provide that for her, because God willing, I mean, God only knows what it would be like had it gone a left turn, and stuff like that.
Well,
I'm choked up.
No, I want to wrap it up with that good Phil story, because I love Penny, and I see this guy. Believe it or not, he is a good dad.
It's obvious he's a good dad.
No. Well, I don't know about 14 years ago or 16 years ago.
Well, I'm surrounded by great dads.
There we go. So, I'm very happy to have Dan on our Dad's House podcast. Dan, we enjoyed having you on.
I thank you, and I just want to end with it. Make great things happen.
With little finger.
This is his trademark. This is what
that you stole.
Click.
That you stole.
All right. What is that, episode 12?
Yeah. We're done.
Dang.